Hey folks, Bruce McDonald here, the Talamanca Review. Tonight's podcast is titled The Catamite Parade, and we're going to walk through everything here tonight. And I'm going to make sure that everything is understood, and to do that, I'm going to make sure that all my language is understood. Okay, so the first thing you need to know is, what is a catamite? What is the origin of this language? So let's take a look at that. Oh yeah, sorry about that. I had to add my microphone to this screen. So a boy kept by a pederast is what a catamite is. Okay. I think the term comes from the ancient Greek. Let's take a look. They have it all down here. Etymology: catamitus, Latin from catamitus, Ganymede from Etruscan catmite from Greek Ganymedes. First known use 1593, and the meaning defined above. Okay, so a boy kept by a pederast. I guess that begs the question, what is a pederast? So let's find out. Okay. Now this is the classical language. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to insult anybody, but I am leading to a point. There's a reason that I titled tonight's podcast The Catamite Parade. So a pederast is a noun, and it is a man who desires or engages in sexual activity with a boy. Now, it's very interesting when you think about the etymology of the language, that this goes back like thousands of years, okay? Now notice that it's very specific, okay? So in ancient Greece, they didn't have what we would call homosexuality, nor did the ancient Romans have what we would call the modern version of homosexuality. What they had was older men who wanted to have sex with young boys. And it's not necessarily pedophilia. I mean, strictly speaking, pedophilia is sex with a boy or a girl who has not gone through puberty. Now, sorry, my hair's wet from the sauna. Oh, the sauna is just working so well now, man. It's unbelievable. I would put my hillbilly sauna up against the best $10,000 technological sauna with the infrared lights. It's just working so well now. It's unbelievable. I sit up on the second level now because all the steam gathers at the top of the sauna, and that's where you get the best sweat and the best heat. So I don't so much shower anymore. I just sauna and then rinse off, and then you can't use soap in a sauna though. But all the dirt comes right out of your pores, and then you just have a bucket of water and a washcloth, and you just wash yourself off. It's unbelievable how clean and how refreshed you feel. Enough about my sauna. Sorry, I'm a man easily distracted. So a pederast is a man who desires or engages in sexual activity with a boy. So the origin of homosexuality is not two men who love each other, but a man who is attracted to a boy. It's usually around 14, 15. I don't know why. I'm not that clever. I'm not part of this culture. I don't share the desires. I don't share any of the fetishes of this world, so I don't know why. But I do know that in the ancient Greek society, the very apex of beauty in their culture was a 14-year-old boy, not the runway models we have today. Well, actually, the runway models are starting to look more and more like 15-year-old and 14-year-old boys. That's why they're so skinny. They don't have hips. Okay? I'm a regular guy. I like a big old plump woman, a little fat on her belly, fat under her chin, good in the kitchen. I mean, I'm not a complicated guy, right? For me, at this age, now wasn't always the way I was, but at this age now, I find the most beautiful thing in a woman to be the love around her. Okay, so what I find so beautiful about my wife is all the love around her and the love she generates and sustains. She pretty much takes care of the whole next generation, all her nieces and nephews. They probably eat at my house more than they do at their parents' house. And that's what my real great desire for companionship is. It's a mature woman who holds proper station in a family. I find that extremely attractive. If anything ever happened to my wife and I were looking to recouple, I would do the exact same thing over, because this is the best relationship I've ever had in my life. However, I have to admit, because I don't want to be a liar, I do have certain lusts that persist, okay? And I don't mean that I'm overcome by these lusts, but if I'm honest with myself, it's there. You know, I can tell by what my eye is attracted to when I'm flipping through reels on Instagram. You know, I like the big Brazilian booty in the micro bikini on the Brazilian beach. I gotta say, but I like to look at it. I like it as a sexual stimulant. If that woman ever came to visit me, I'd run away. It's just the way it is. So why am I talking about these things? Why am I talking about catamites and pederasts? If you study what's going on closely now, the Western world is by and large being run by catamites or adult catamites. Okay? So these were men who, when they were 14, they were being buggered. They were the catamites. And once a catamite, always a catamite. Okay? It's like in the prison system. Once you're a punk, you're always a punk. Okay? So it just is what it is. Once a catamite, always a catamite. Okay? And it's so epidemic now that it's impossible not to speak about. And why is it epidemic? How did we get to this point? Okay? So I'll begin with my own personal experience. So I went to university from 88 to 92. And at that time, while I was in school, I would make my living, or I would supplement my income, waiting tables and bartending. And in the summers, I worked construction because there was more money, and good money actually, in construction. But when I worked in the service industry from about 19 to 26 or 27, no, maybe 28, I was still working as a waiter when I got back from Taiwan. But when I was working in the service industry, I had gay friends. Okay? Now, I got a university degree that would be considered very liberal, a journalism degree. I would say for that time, in the 90s, I was definitely a liberal. Okay? I was fairly happy when Bill Clinton got in. I didn't think it was a huge deal that Monica Lewinsky was filleting him in the White House. I did not find that to be a big deal at all. I did not make as big a deal as that as the Republicans did. So that's basically who and what I was in the 90s, okay? Before and after I went to Taiwan. So I went to Taiwan after I got my degree, paid off my student loans from Taiwan, teaching English for $25 an hour. That was really good money in 92. Really good. It even today, it's not bad money. Isn't that interesting? 32 years later, we're in 2024, and 25 US dollars an hour would still be a good wage. It was really good in 1992. And so I knew a lot of gay people. Not a lot, but every restaurant I worked at, if there were 15 or 16 servers for lunch and dinner and night shift, usually about a third of them were gay. So you got to meet a lot of gay people. I got to know the gay lifestyle quite a bit. I would say that I was not at all antagonistic toward it. Okay? Now, what was going on in the late 80s and early 90s was pretty brutal. At this time, the Toronto Police Force was still in the habit of raiding gay bathhouses and beating the shit out of homosexuals. Okay? And it was brutal, right? So, looking at it from the free will spiritual perspective, because I was already developing and had developed a lot of my spiritual consciousness even back then. Remember, I started meditating, I started my spiritual life at 17, turning 18. I felt that the treatment of gay people was abominable. And if you were to get in a time machine and go back and visit 1992 Bruce, 1990 Bruce, 1991 Bruce, I would sound, I don't know, pretty liberal, okay? But at that time, there was a big, big difference, okay? We were talking about free will expression within what was then a minority population. Okay, the gay and lesbian community was a minority population. And their free will expression to live how they wanted to live as adults was being encroached upon. And I supported that. Or I didn't support it per se, but I supported their right to live the way they wanted to live, is the easiest way to say it. But things have changed so much now. And knowing what I know now, I can honestly tell you I got duped. Okay? Because nothing is what it seems. And this is why I write books like The Devil in Us, to show you that, look, when you look at this over 144 years, you can see a very clear plan and a very clear agenda throughout all of this. It's not complicated. Okay? It's not hard to see at all. But when you're young and things are appealing to your emotions and to your heart, you commit to the moment you live in. And I did not know in 1991 that this would all lead to where it's led, which is where we are now, which is on the brink of, I don't know, cultural and social Armageddon, and the destruction of the family. Yeah. So where is it all leading now? Okay, so in Canada, the first openly gay prime minister was Justin Trudeau's father. Now, he wasn't openly gay, but where I grew up, in Ottawa, everybody knew he was gay. And this was the commencement of a tremendous encroachment of homosexuals into the federal civil service. Okay? There's certain kinds of work that gay people like to do. You're not going to find too many gay men on construction sites. You're not going to find too many gay cowboys. Although they fantasize about it, the village people and stuff like that. I guess that's their Brazilian booty in the micro bikini. So Trudeau, the senior, Pierre Trudeau, was in politics from about 1968 or 1969 till the early 80s. But he came and he went. He was like a venereal disease. Really, he was. He came and he went. Okay? So he would be out of power for a while and then he would come back. And his main job in his tenure was reining in the desire of Quebec to separate from Canada. And so he betrayed his own people, the French people in Quebec. And he did that because he's a globalist, and you can't really be a globalist allowing a country to fractionalize in that manner. So Pierre Trudeau was a big deal in this system that's coming about now. He was a big, big deal in the 70s. He was a central figure in whatever this thing is, whatever this culture, this thing, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is. Lulu! Trudeau was a pretty big deal. Hang on. Lulu! Lulu! Cats and dogs. Lulu! Sol! Wow. What are you doing, buddy? You're not usually the one. Okay. Sometimes the cats just push them though, right? It's not their fault. They get provoked. Cats are, I don't know, they're cunning. They can be quite diabolical. So Trudeau was the first openly, not openly, but known to be gay leader. One of the first in the Western world, by the way. Now, if you lived in Ottawa and you were raised in a connected family, you knew. Everybody knew. So I grew up playing hockey. Played hockey for about 13 years, from about 4 years old to about 10 years, 11 years, so about 15 years old. Played hockey. And, growing up in a capital city, who do you end up playing hockey with? Well, I mean, guys I played hockey with for 10 years, because it's like school, you follow your age group, right? So the guys I played hockey with, a lot of them were from families that were, very well connected. The son of the chief of police for the Ottawa police force. I played hockey with him for 10 years. RCMP officers, senior RCMP officers working out of the federal office in the nation's capital, Ottawa. And, my father was pretty connected too. He was way up in the Canadian State Department as an economist. And an economic hitman is really what my father was, to be honest with you. It took me a long time to figure that out, and even longer to admit it to myself, but he that's what he did. Right? He wasn't the guy that actually set the bombs, or metaphorically speaking, or anything like that, but he was the last guy you saw before those guys came in. And he gave you the warning. This is what's going to happen. And so it was a major asshole, my father. Okay? Not a nice guy at all. My father, and I love him, because you can't really stop loving your parents. But you can be adult, psychologically mature, and be honest about who they are. And my mother and father were just complete assholes, right? Complete assholes. And that's a big thing to be able to do, to reach the kind of independence of consciousness where you can be honest about your own family. And if you call yourself a spiritual person, you have to be that way. Okay? Tribal people side with their blood. Spiritual people side with what is universally correct according to the divine law, according to the divine. So, let's take a look at some of the material I've got prepared for today, because it's actually really quite interesting. Let me see here. Where's the first one? Okay, so here's just a little piece of Zelensky and the woman they call his wife, and Macron and the thing they call, I don't know what the word is, and I'm not going to use their words or their fucking pronouns. And Jordan Peterson's right about this. Don't let them shape the way you use language. Okay. So here they are.
Hello, friends. I've just received some very important news and decided to immediately make a video. We can save people if the world pays attention. Does anyone still doubt that this is the war between good and evil? After the Olympics opening ceremony, even the skeptics can't fully deny it. I'm going to tell you about a demonic plan to destroy religion in Ukraine. There is a plan to ban the Ukrainian Orthodox Church within a month. Dozens of priests and monks will be imprisoned, and the Kiev-Pечерsk Lavra will finally be seized. But let me start from the beginning. Zelensky is waging war against religion in Ukraine. This process peaked when the war broke out. His government seizes churches and imprisons priests. Why, I hear you ask? To distract public attention from corruption and erase Ukrainian identity once and for all. To take away people's faith, because today Russia and Ukraine share a common religion. But for them, this isn't enough. They want more and more. That's their plan. The plan to eradicate the church. Around August 20th, the Verkhovная Rada will pass a total ban on the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. This decision is final. But there's more. Exarchate of Constantinople will be established in Ukraine. This means external control. Bartholomew will govern the church directly from Istanbul. All of its assets and all the temples Zelensky seized, all will be handed over to him. 40 monks and priests will be imprisoned to intimidate people. The SBU will oversee the operation. Elena Zelenskaya is scheduled to meet Bartholomew soon to discuss the details of the ban. The SBU is also going to force the remaining monks out of the Kiev-Pечерsk Lavra. It will no longer belong to Ukrainians.
Люди у військовій формі, без відповідних шевронів, в формі ЗСУ.
Что вы делаете? Что вы делаете? Полиция! Полиция!
Залетіли в територію храму, забризкали перцевим балоном, замінили фізичне насилля.
Пришли мужики и выгоняют.
Хочется так взять тебя за шиворот и...
Не сміть! А ну не ображайте жінок!
Before us, the war between good and evil is being fought. I chose the Kiev-Pечерsk Lavra as a backdrop for my video. You can see it now. It's a sacred site with a millennia-old history, now desecrated by Satanists holding rock concerts. Zelensky becomes Satan incarnate, the destroyer of faith. He doesn't let people breathe, think, or believe. He wants to invade our homes, our brains, our souls. I appeal to the global media. Please, let's save these 40 innocent clergymen. I'm making this video in the hope evil won't dare to harm them once I blow the whistle. I address Tucker Carlson, Candy Owens, and Robert Amsterdam once again. Please inform your audiences about this. Today, in my homeland, people are jailed for their beliefs. Is it the freedom our men are dying for? Let's save Lavra and our faith. Throughout history, the church has revived after persecution. Stay united. Stay resolute. Goodbye.
Okay. What's the connection between these things? Well, the connection is the root is the Talmud. The trunk is all the things that the Talmud have brought into the world. And the Talmud here means Jewish influence, okay? And abortion and rampant homosexuality are a part of the Jewish influence in the Western world, in the Eastern European world, and if they have their way all over the world. But a lot of parts of the world aren't putting up with it. The Middle East, Africa, a lot of people aren't putting up with it, but they're still going forward in the West, okay? Now, these people that we fought for so that they could have their right to free will expression and to be with who they wanted to be with. I'm not going to say love is love, because I don't think homosexuals are capable of love. I know that's a bold statement, but I don't. They're capable of lust, they're capable of romantic attachment as long as it suits them, but love is something different. It's staying with someone through old age, when they're unattractive, when they're sick. It's raising kids, it's making sacrifices. It's not this party life that the gay people like, okay? And there's so many of them in power now, is really what the Catamite Parade is about. What we have to ask ourselves at this point, how have we come to the point where all of these openly gay or clandestinely gay, and they're not really gay, they're just really, really fucked up, okay? Why are there so many of these people in power now? Okay, let me go through the list. You got Zelensky, and on the female side, the female persona that fits into this milieu of sexual decrepitude is the whore, the woman who uses sex for social advantage. And this is the female heterosexual version of the homosexual mind. Because the homosexual, in many instances, uses sex for personal gain and to get ahead in life. Okay? And Kamala Harris has done this. So the whore, you know, Babylon, whore of Babylon, right? So the whore is a central figure in this. Okay? And I guess the moral of the story is that human sexuality should be preserved for its true function, because it's such a powerful binding agent in youth and middle age. Very powerful binding agent. And a man and a woman can stay together and they can survive many difficulties and they can raise children. Okay? And for those of you who are married, you know that if you stay monogamous, you don't go to swinger parties like the doctor we saw last night. You know, the COVID czar of New York, he was married, but it's a show marriage. Because true marriage is fidelity. Now, marriage is not necessarily a religious ritual or a legal document. That's not what I'm talking about. You don't have to be legally married to be married. You just have to be committed to each other. And in many ways, the legal marriage is a farce. I know there was some confusion about this. I spoke to some friends off air, and some of the things I'd said, they're like, Bruce, do you support the institution of marriage? I said, yeah, 100%. And they said, why? And then when we got into the discussion, I realized they were talking about the legal aspect of marriage, to be legally married. No, I don't support that. Right? If you want to do it, I did it here in Costa Rica. And if you want to do it, do it. But when I say marriage, I mean staying with someone and growing with them, okay? And that's the real thing, okay? That's what's really the most important thing. And when you're married, what happens is your sex life really sort of becomes centered around making love. And it's intermittent. It's not every day, it's not every other day. Because the true nature of sexuality for a man is conquest of as many females as possible. Because the biological imperative is to spread your seed. That's the biological consciousness. But we are not our biology. As spiritual beings, we transcend our biology. We outlive the biology, the body we're in. We get bodies when we incarnate. Okay? But in its purest form, I don't think it can be denied. And the purest form is the biological form. So again, this becomes a form of alchemy. So you're taking a biological instinct and you're transforming it into something higher to achieve a goal, which is well-raised children and a well-lived life. And when you stay with the same partner and you're monogamous, your sex life becomes very, very natural and much more beautiful, okay? And much more sincere and much more intimate. It's impossible to escape the intimacy of it. It becomes much more intimate. And with the intimacy comes the love. Okay? Now, these phony marriages, okay? The Obamas aren't married. That's not a marriage. Are you kidding me? Do you really think that's a marriage? You don't think the Carmel Catamite is getting his ass fucked on the regular? I mean, you saw those pictures of Michelle, right? Michael. So they would have been together because, I mean, those pictures go way back, right? So they would have been together at the same time Obama was being pimped out to white dudes for coke and money in Chicago around the time that I think his name was Larry Summers, rented out Barack Hussein Obama. Okay? Barack would have been with Michael at that time. So Michael was okay with Barack, or Barry Soretto, going out and doing some coke and getting fucked in the ass by some other men. See, there's no monogamy in this life. The spiritual aspect of sexuality is completely gone. Okay? And this is another big reveal about Jewish culture, that there's not much of a spiritual aspect even to their marriages. Okay? Trudeau just recently got divorced from his wife, Sophie Gregoire. Just recently got divorced from her. I have a video of them. Hang on a sec. One second here. Maybe I don't have it. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, let's just take a look at a few more of these clips, okay? Because they're really sort of revealing. Couple leaders of the free world there, folks. Couple leaders of the free world, Macron and Zelensky. Why are they all like this? Why? Why all of a sudden in the first quarter of the 21st century are so many of the leaders in the Western system, the interlinked Western system, and all these fucking catamites are sending us to our deaths now? Why are they so evil? Okay? Why are they so evil? This guy Zelensky, if you have the time, look up the property he owns. I mean, this guy's got mansions and million-dollar penthouses all over the world. The official figure, 600,000 of his countrymen have been killed fighting the Russians. And him and his wife, or the bitch he trails around pretending to be his wife, have property all over the world. And if they're not ashamed of who they are, why the sham marriages? Why the sham marriages if they're not ashamed of who they are? The whole thing is just complete bullshit. They're lying to us. It's a complete and total lie. Okay? Let me see if I can find what I'm looking for here, because there's a really, really good one I want to show you. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Because you're very handsome. Thank you.
Okay, this is Justin Trudeau before he became Prime Minister of Canada. Now, look at this fucking freak, okay?
Because you're very handsome.
Thank you, Justin.
Kiss him.
I think because
His wife is telling him to kiss the CBC host there. Okay? Now, this is what the progressives are into. Okay? And look, I mean, you guys know me. I don't go to church. I don't believe in all those churchy values. I think that, you know, living your life and being yourself is important, but lying is not being yourself. And lying on the scale that these people lie is not being yourself. Okay? It's actually kind of disgusting. Okay? Yeah. So, in the original cultures in which these figures emerged, the Catamites, they weren't highly respected. Okay, a Catamite couldn't go very far in life. Okay, they were like whores, you know, like strippers. Every man at a bachelor party or at some point will maybe go to a strip club. You know, so it's a bit hypocritical, but nobody marries them. Nobody wants to make children with them because they're whores. Okay? And whores don't make good mothers. They're extremely damaged, and their trauma and damage will end up being taken out on your children. Okay? So it's just a horrible situation at this point. One sec.
Because you're very handsome.
thank you, Justin.
Kiss him.
Okay, here's another one. This is Justin Trudeau visiting a gay bar in Vancouver. And look, this is not for votes, okay?
Pardon me, it's never happened before.
Mr. Speaker, don't casual homophobic comments from the other side of the House. Mr. Speaker, what is it about the...
But colleagues, I don't appreciate when we would tar the entire members with that concern. And I'm going to ask the honourable member, please, to withdraw that comment, start his question again, and let us presume the better natures of all members of Parliament here. The Right Honourable Prime Minister from the top.
Mr. Speaker, standing up to bullies requires us to call them out on their crap sometimes, and that's what I will do.
I'll invite the Prime Minister once again to rise on his feet. And thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I will happily withdraw my comment if the member who suggested that I was sharing a bathtub with Tom Clark stands up, takes responsibility for his...
Про людей нетрадиційної орієнтації. Не хочу вам нічого поганого зараз говорити, тому що ми живемо з вами в відкритому, вільному суспільстві, де кожен обирає мову, якою спілкується, національність і свою орієнтацію. Господи.
Because you're very handsome.
Thank you, Justin.
Kiss him.
I think because
Привет, друзья.
Because you're very handsome.
Thank you, Justin.
Kiss him.
So that's where we're at. And why even talk about this? Well, a number of reasons. Number one, there's so many of these freaks in politics now. And the lesbians are even worse. They're always extremely angry, and they do horrible and dark things. Like Beetlejuice in Chicago, like Kathleen Wynne in Ontario as the premier. And they're always doing things. And I think to connect what I said at the beginning of the podcast with now, I haven't changed. I'm still the same liberal I was in 1990 and 1991 when I supported gay rights. What's changed is that this isn't about gay rights anymore. Not only do they have all their rights, they have more than they need. They have almost an entitlement in the Western world now. How else could so many of these people end up in politics? Their proportion is a fraction of the general population, but their representation in positions of influence and elected positions is disproportionate. And now that they have power, we can start to see that whatever was behind this was not about equality. But they still say that, which is again the lie. This isn't about equality. This is about transforming the sexuality of the human race. Because here's the truth, folks. Sexuality is malleable. Okay? It's malleable. I don't want to get graphic or vulgar. Maybe I should give an example. Maybe not. But sexuality is malleable. Okay? And what that means is, in a developing child, sexuality can be directed a certain way. And you may say, well, that it's free. They're just living their lives, Bruce. Who are you to judge? What they don't realize is those decisions will affect them for the rest of their lives and will affect the way they live and whether or not they procreate. Okay? And this really, at the root of it, is another attack on Western society. Wherever you see these values being propagated, what you're tacitly being asked to do is to stop procreating. That's why there is such an incredible disrespect for the nuclear family now. Why give these people so much time and attention? How oppressed are they? The new oppressed people are the middle and lower middle class heterosexual people trying to raise children. Those are the new oppressed people. Those are the people having their rights stripped away. And that's why you see everywhere you go in the Western world, the only salaries that have increased significantly in the last 25 years to keep pace with inflation and all of that are the police salaries. Because they need those people to keep doing what they're doing, which is enforcing this with violence. Everywhere else, everybody else is falling behind. And what they're saying is don't procreate. And if they're saying don't procreate, what are they saying? Are they saying there's too many people on the planet? Are they saying there's too many people in Canada? Are they saying there's too many people in the United States? If that's the case, why are they bringing in all these new people? Okay? I can assure you this radical homosexual agenda is not being proliferated. It's not taking off in Central America. There are no drag shows over here. There's gay culture, there's gay people, because as I've told you numerous times on my show, homosexuality is real. But it generally occupies about 1% of the population. But because sexuality is malleable, when you start advertising and celebrating homosexuality, you're going to radically increase that figure in terms of, and generally it'll be bisexual expression. Bisexuality is the most confused state in the world. It's the person who's given in to the completely malleable sexuality. Okay? Sexuality has to have discipline applied to it if you want to get any productivity out of it. It's the same thing as anything in life. If you want to have a healthy body and a strong body, you have to eat correctly and you have to exercise. It's a no-brainer, right? Okay, if you want to have strong families, you have to practice monogamy and you have to practice lovemaking because that's what keeps a marriage together. You're not going to stay together if you start swinging or inviting other people into your bed. How do I know this? History tells me. You think we're the first people? Sex has always been here. We have cell phones, we have television, we have movie cinemas, we have movies. We have all the modern technology that began in the early 20th century. But sex has always been here. Look at the way the Romans practiced it. Look at the way the Greeks practiced it. Okay? And so sexuality must be approached with discipline, and the family must be respected, because it's what keeps your people, your nation, and the human race going. And it's yet just another expression of the rampant Satanism on the planet, where Satanism, for me, is a community of anti-life. The real Satan is not involved in this at all. By the way, I can tell you with some certainty that the entity we do call Satan has absolute contempt for the human beings who claim to be in its service. Absolute contempt. It's not Satanism. They just call it Satanism because by feeding it into the religious narrative, they exacerbate, exaggerate, and keep the religious narrative going. And the religious narrative is anti-spiritual. And the last thing they want is the human race waking up spiritually. And so religion and decadence work hand in hand. Good cop, bad cop, right? It would be comical if it weren't so sad. It would be comical if we weren't talking about somewhere between 600,000 and 1 million Ukrainians killed. Okay? And again, this is another footnote in my overall thesis that we're going to Noahide law. And Noahide law will allow homosexuality, by the way. Probably even encourage it. Okay? Because it's a highly destructive form of leadership that seeks to create two standards of expression. The Gentile standard of expression and the Jewish standard of expression. And it's diabolical. It's disgusting. Literally disgusting. Okay? So this is about as bad as it's ever been. In my lifetime, anyways. And where is this all leading? Well, if you look at what they're doing with the sex ed curriculums under these I'm gay, I'm not gay leaders, like Justin Trudeau, Emmanuel Macron, Zelensky, I'll tell you where it's all leading. It's leading to pedophilia. They want your children. Because then they'll completely own the society. I don't want to get into all the details, but there's a nearly irreversible process that happens to a prepubescent boy who is sodomized. That will never be a normal human being. Okay? Never be a normal human being. Something that cannot be returned is taken from the young boy who is raped and sodomized. It's in many ways a point of no return. That boy will be set on a completely different course in life. And that's why they want to do it. They want to sodomize the boys. Many Catamites grow up to be pederasts. They also want to do to young boys what was done to them. It's a cycle of abuse. Okay? Anyways, that's the Talamanca review for tonight. I'm Bruce McDonald. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night.